Have you ever had one of those days where it feels like your life is just one low-grade emergency after another? You know, where one tiny frustration just snowballs into a full-blown crisis in your head? Well, if that sounds even a little bit familiar, you're definitely not alone. So today we're going to unpack a super practical playbook for inner peace. It's a set of really simple but powerful strategies to help you find some calm even when life gets, loud.
So let's just dive right in with a really direct question. I want you to take a second and actually think about this. Is your life, right here, right now, an actual emergency?
The thing is, for most of us, most of the time, the answer is no, it's not. And just realizing that, just that simple fact, is the first step. We have this habit of treating tiny frustrations like they're life or death situations. But here's the secret. We have the power to choose a different path, a calmer reaction.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we make that choice? Well, the whole journey really starts inside. So let's explore how to get a handle on our inner world, and it all begins with the foundation of everything, our thoughts.
Here is the first and maybe the easiest tool for your mental toolkit. The next time you feel that wave of stress or panic start to rise up, maybe you're stuck in traffic or you're staring down a deadline, just pause, take a breath, and repeat this simple phrase to yourself. Life isn't an emergency. It's an incredibly powerful way to send a signal to your nervous system that it can stand down from high alert. Now, this describes a mental trap that, let's be honest, we all fall into from time to time, the snowball effect. It's that thing that happens when one tiny negative thought starts rolling downhill, and it just picks up more and more anxious thoughts until it's become this huge avalanche of catastrophe in our minds.
And here's a perfect example of how that works, right? It starts with something so small, so manageable. I'm going to be late. But then the snowball starts to grow. Your mind immediately jumps to, my boss will be angry. Then it gets bigger. I'll miss the whole meeting. And before you even know what's happening, you've somehow convinced yourself that your entire career is over. The real trick is learning to catch that snowball back at step one.
Now, this is a really profound shift in how you see the world. And it's not about being pessimistic, not at all. It's about accepting and embracing the idea that nothing lasts forever. When you can mentally accept that everything is temporary, you stop living in this constant fear of losing things. And instead, you start to really, truly appreciate them while you have them. It literally transforms anxiety into gratitude.
So, building on that idea, here are a few super concrete things you can start doing today. First, stop multitasking. Seriously, it just shatters your attention into a million pieces. Next, carve out just 10 minutes for silence. And this last one, this one is so important. Lower your tolerance to stress. Now, why would you do that? Well, because most of us wait until we're completely burned out before we do anything. If you can learn to notice the very first signs of overwhelm and treat that as a serious signal to step back, you'll build so much more resilience.
Once we start to manage our own inner world, it has this massive positive ripple effect on our outer world, especially in our relationships. So let's take a look at how that inner calm can actually turn conflict into compassion.
This concept right here is a total game changer for empathy. I mean it. So much of our conflict, our arguments, our friction with people comes from this false belief that everybody sees the world exactly the way we do. But they don't, not even close. Every single person is living in their own separate reality, looking through their own unique lens.
So what shapes that lens? What creates those separate realities? Well, everything. Your background, your beliefs, your mood right now, every single experience you've ever had. And when you can remember that the person you're talking to or are arguing with has a completely different set of all these things, it suddenly becomes so much easier to understand why they see things differently.
And this leads to a really powerful choice you have in almost every disagreement. On one hand, you can focus on being right, on defending your point, on winning. Or, on the other hand, you can focus on being kind, on trying to understand them, on choosing connection. You just have to ask yourself, what's more important to me in this moment, winning this argument or preserving this relationship?
This classic piece of advice is exactly how you choose kindness. It's the practical application. Before you even think about jumping in to defend your own position, make a genuine, honest effort to see the world from their side. It doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but that simple act of truly listening, it can de-escalate almost any conflict. And here are some real-world ways to put that into practice. Just bite your tongue when you want to interrupt. Even in an opinion you totally disagree with, try to find one tiny grain of truth you can understand. And I absolutely love this last one. If someone tries to pull you into drama or an argument, if they throw you that ball, you can just choose not to engage. You don't have to catch it.
All right, so we've looked at our inner world, we've looked at our relationships. Now let's zoom all the way out. Let's talk about building a kind of resilient, long-term wisdom about finding perspective on life itself.
This is another one of those deceptively simple questions that has so much power. The next time you are really upset about something, a mistake you made, a comment someone said, just stop. Ask yourself, will this matter a year from now? 9 times out of 10, maybe even more, the honest answer is no. And that question just instantly shrinks the problem down to its real size.
This is so powerful for gaining perspective. Just think about it for a second. In 100 years, every single person we know, including you and me, will all be gone. All of our current worries, our anxieties, the arguments we're having, all of it will have just vanished. It's a really humbling thought, and it helps you stop sweating the small stuff.
This one is all about reframing your entire relationship with problems. What if life isn't something that's just happening to you, but it's actually happening for you? This perspective turns every challenge, every single difficulty, into a lesson. It stops being a punishment and starts being your own personal curriculum for becoming a wiser, stronger person.
So, to build that lifelong wisdom, here are a few final strategies to keep in your back pocket. First, consciously shift your focus from what you want to what you already have. Gratitude really is a muscle, and you have to work it out. Second, choose your battles wisely. We waste so much energy on things that just don't matter in the long run. Learning to let things go is a superpower.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here, from managing our thoughts to connecting better with people, all the way to finding a bigger perspective. But you know, information is pretty useless without action. So now the focus shifts entirely to you.
Now, this isn't about being reckless or irresponsible, not at all. It's the ultimate call to be present. It's about encouraging us to approach our day with intention, to really appreciate the simple, quiet moments, and to connect with the people who matter most. Because really, every single day is a gift.
And that brings us to our final question for you. Don't try to do all of this at once. That's overwhelming. Just pick one. One small thing. Will you try to let someone else be right in a conversation? Will you ask yourself if something will really matter in a year? Or maybe you'll just take one deep breath and remind yourself that life isn't an emergency. What's the one small thing you will choose to practice, starting right now?